You already know someone like this. Everyone at work loves him. He remembers birthdays. He stays late. He asks about your kids and actually listens to the answer. And this year, 3 good people quit his team without giving a real reason. Here is the embarrassing part. You defended him. Somebody tried to warn you once, and you said, "Come on, he is the nicest guy in the building." You were not blind. You were not a bad judge of people. You were looking for the wrong thing, because the most damaging people do not have one big obvious flaw. They have 3 small traits that work together like parts of an engine. Psychologists have a name for that combination, the Dark Triad. And once you see how the 3 parts feed each other, you cannot unsee it. You are not paranoid for wondering about someone. You are not jealous. You are not overreacting. You just never got handed the actual checklist, and this video is that checklist. Here is the lie almost everyone in this country grew up with. The lie that harmful people are obvious. School taught it with cartoon villains who laughed out loud before they did anything bad. Family taught it with the sentence, "Everyone means well deep down." And true crime shows taught it best of all by putting the danger in a basement, in a hoodie, in a mugshot with bad lighting. So you learn to scan for monsters. Meanwhile, the actual damage in most lives shows up in a clean shirt. It shows up with a firm handshake and a story about how hard it worked to get here. It shows up in the manager who is charming for exactly as long as it is useful. The friend who knows the one secret nobody else knows. The partner who apologizes beautifully and changes nothing. The lie is not that bad people exist. The lie is that they announce themselves. So here is what we are going to do. 3 traits, one at a time, and you will watch how each one creates the next. One is about ego. One is about using people. One is about feeling nothing. And one of them is not a villain trait at all. It is the one you have probably used this week, in a small way, and told yourself it was just being smart. That one comes later. The first trait does not start on a stage. It starts at a kitchen table. Picture a 9-year-old with a report card, face up between the dinner plates. 2 columns of good grades and 1 column of average ones. The parent looks past the good ones and lands on the average one, and stays there for about 3 seconds. No yelling. Just a small breath out and a change of subject. And that kid learns something in 2 seconds that takes 30 years to unlearn. Ordinary is invisible. Impressive gets looked at. So they got funnier and louder and very good at whatever made the room turn around. By 14, they had built a whole personality out of things that worked. Not because they were beaten, not because they were starved, because they were skipped. That is narcissism, and it is the loudest of the 3, which is why it gets all the attention. In 1979, 2 researchers named Robert Raskin and Calvin Hall built the Narcissistic Personality Inventory, the questionnaire that turned this trait into something science could actually measure. What it measures, in plain words, is a person whose sense of self only works while it is plugged in. Think of a phone stuck on maximum brightness. It looks amazing. It also dies by 2 in the afternoon, every single day, and needs the charger close at all times. Attention is the charger. You have seen this person at 11 at night, phone face down on the bed, flipping it over to check who watched their story, not how many people. Ho. And when one specific name is missing from that list, something small breaks in their chest, and they will not sleep right for another hour. I want to be fair here. That is not evil. That is a kid's survival trick that never got turned off. But a self that runs on other people's eyes has one huge problem. Attention runs out. And when a person needs a resource that keeps running out, they stop waiting for it. They start engineering it, which is where the second trait switches on. And this one is much harder to see coming. 4 in the afternoon, open office, laptop fans humming. They type a message to the whole team. Then they delete it. Then they type it again with 1 word changed. The word they swapped was us. They replaced it with the team, because the team sounds selfless and us sounds like taking sides. Then they wait 11 minutes to hit send, because a message at 4:11 looks casual, and a message at exactly 4 p.m. looks planned. This is Machiavellianism, and it is the coldest of the 3 to explain, because it is not a feeling, it is a method. In 1970, Richard Christie and Florence Geis at Columbia University built the first real scale for it, a test that measures how willing somebody is to use people as tools. What it really measures is one thing: whether a person sees other human beings as people or as terrain. Everyone else in the room is deciding what to say. This person is deciding what effect to produce. And it does not just live at work. Same trait, different room, a parent in the hospital, a house that will have to be sold, and 3 siblings who all need to hear about it. The order they get told in is not an accident. The softest sibling hears it first, alone, in a phone call that lasts 40 minutes and feels like love. By the time the difficult sibling hears anything, 2 people already agree, and the conversation is not a conversation anymore. It is a vote. Nobody lied. Nobody raised their voice. The whole thing was decided by who got the phone call first. I will say the honest thing here. This is the trait I find hardest to talk about, because half of what it describes is just called being good with people. You have done a soft version of it. So have I. That is exactly why it works. But real strategy has a cost built in. Every calculated move sets off a small alarm in the body, the one that fires when you are about to hurt somebody who trusts you. It is quiet. It is easy to ignore, unless it was never installed. That missing alarm is the third trait, and it is the one that turns the other 2 from exhausting into dangerous. A hospital hallway, 2 in the morning, a vending machine buzzing under fluorescent light. A family is falling apart on the plastic chairs. And one person in that group is standing slightly apart, perfectly calm, asking a nurse where you validate parking. Not cruel, not cold on purpose. Just genuinely unbothered, in a room where being unbothered is the strangest possible thing to be. This is psychopathy, and the everyday version has nothing to do with knives. Robert Hare, a psychologist at the University of British Columbia, spent decades building the checklist still used in prisons and courtrooms to measure this trait. At the center of it sits low fear and thin empathy. The clinical phrase for part of it is callous, unemotional traits, which is a very expensive way of saying the person did not feel bad and was never going to. Most people run other humans like an app in the background. Somebody flinches, and a small copy of that flinch runs in your own chest without permission. For this kind of person, that app never loads. They can still tell you exactly what you are feeling. They just do not catch it. So the shame that stops most people at the last second simply never shows up. And here is the strange part. In small doses, in the right job, this trait is useful. It is why a surgeon's hands stay steady. It is why a firefighter walks toward the noise. The calm was never the problem. The problem is what the calm gets attached to. Because when you attach a missing break to a hunger for attention and a talent for strategy, you do not get 3 flaws. You get 1 engine. Now stop for a second. Because everything so far only holds if you are honest about one thing. Think about the last time you managed someone. Not lied to them. Managed them. You picked your words. So a conversation would land a certain way. You told a partial truth because the full one would have started something you did not have the energy for. You were extra warm to somebody because you needed them on your side next week. There are 2 readings of that. One is emotional intelligence, raiding the room, protecting somebody. The other is that you got a result out of a person without giving them the chance to say no with full information. And from the outside, those 2 look exactly the same. Same words, same tone, same friendly follow-up text the next morning. The only difference lives inside your head, and no test can go in there. I am not going to resolve that for you. Just notice which answer you wanted to be true before you finished the thought. Because here is where the science lands. In 2002, Delroy Paulus and Kevin Williams at the University of British Columbia put these 3 traits into one paper and gave them the shared name, the Dark Triad. And their real finding was not the name. It was that the 3 traits overlap heavily, but are not the same thing, which means something must be sitting underneath all of them. In 2018, a research team, including Ingo Zettler at the University of Copenhagen, went looking and called what they found the D factor. In plain words, it is the willingness to take a win at somebody else's expense, with a justification already loaded. And the justification is the whole machine, not the harm. The story about the harm. They were going to find out anyway, Everybody does this. If I had not done it, someone worse would have. Those sentences are not excuses invented after the fact. They are written before the act, quietly, so the act arrives already forgiven. And personally, that is the finding I have never gotten comfortable with. Not because it is dark, because it is ordinary. This is not a rare defect in a few broken people. It is a dial that every single human has. And most of us keep it low mostly by accident of how we were raised and who happened to be watching, which is exactly why this keeps working in daylight, in rooms full of smart people trying to spot it. 9 in the morning, a glass conference room, a candidate with strong eye contact who laughs half a beat before the joke lands. Everyone leaves saying the same word: confident. The traits that make somebody dangerous over 3 years are the exact traits that make them impressive over 3 minutes. Interviews measure the first impression. Damage happens on a delay. And the delay is the trick, because by the time the cost shows up, it is spread across so many people that nobody holds the whole picture. The one who got yelled at thinks it was about the deadline. The one who got moved sideways thinks it was budget. The one who quit thinks they just were not cut out for it. Everybody holds one piece. Nobody holds the shape. Then the internet removed the last break, which was having to watch the face of the person you hurt. In 2014, researchers Aaron Buckles and Delroy Paulhus studied internet trolls and found the people who enjoyed trolling most scored high on these same dark traits. A comment section is a room where you can hit somebody and never hear the sound. And once the sound is gone, the brake has nothing to push against. So let's put the whole engine on the table. The hunger that needs an audience. The mind that treats people as terrain. The alarm that was never installed. The core underneath all three, with its excuse already written, and the daylight that hides everything, because we keep hiring confidence and calling it character. The Dark Triad is not a description of monsters. It is what happens when a normal human system gets pointed at people instead of problems. You spent years watching for someone who looks dangerous. The ones who cause the most harm are counting on exactly that. They do not arrive as a threat, they arrive as a relief. And if one specific face came into your mind about 4 minutes ago and never left, that was not an accident either. Now you know what you were looking at.